Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, the show here on Let's Talk Entertainment, where I'm attempting to read and review each of the roughly 600 short stories written by the late, great Ray Bradbury. I've been at this little project since 2018. Today I'm up to story number 289, so we are knocking down the door of 300 short stories out of a assumed 600. Today's story is from the 1997 collection Driving Blind, which I am currently working my way through. Today's story is Grand Theft. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to the show, the way this all works is I do a brief synopsis of what happens in the story, and then I wrap up just a really light analysis of what I took away from the story, and that's about it. I mainly do this for my own entertainment, but I hope that you enjoy these reviews as well. So, Grand Theft synopsis: two sisters are sleeping side by side in different beds in the same bedroom. It almost sounds like they're probably little girls, and suddenly they awake because they hear a noise in the attic above them. Soon they look to the window and they see two figures climbing down a ladder. They bring the ladder down and then they sort of scurry away. We soon find out that the sisters are in fact Emily and Rose, and they're not little girls. They're indeed 80 and 81-year-old spinsters, and they suspect that the intruders may be looking for antiques because they've heard stories of antiques being stolen recently. But they don't really have much in the attic of any monetary value, no really good antiques. However, we soon discover that Emily's her sort of private box has been raided, and taken from the box, of all things, was a bundle of old love letters from the years 2019, 2020, and 2021. Why? Rose theorizes that it's about blackmail. They're going to blackmail you. And of course that makes no sense because the letters are so old, who could it possibly hurt? And then they also suggest that maybe it's going to be used, repurposed as material for these smutty TV shows that all the young people are watching these days. Again, pretty ridiculous. But the letters are in fact from an old shy suitor that courted Emily way back in the day. And then over the next week, remarkably, the letters start returning home. One by one, somebody begins slipping them into the mailbox. But when, after about 6 or 7 days, a new letter shows up, this one, not an old letter, an actual new letter, and it has an address and basically tells them, come to this address and all will be revealed. They get to the house, and we learned that the house of the letters, in fact, were written by a man named William Ross Fielding, who loved her many, many years ago, but he'd heard that through the grapevine from gossiping girls that she was engaged and going to be married and going to be sailing away, so they never had the chance to get together, and it was too late by that time for him to sort of act on his passion. Ultimately, he spends his life traveling the world until finally his journeys bring him back home to his hometown, to his old grandparents' old house, and he's decided to finally act on his love. And so before Emily gets up to leave, he rushes to say, "What are you doing tonight?" Finally having the courage to ask her out. I botched the description just a little bit, sorry about that, but you get the gist of the story. It is a charming little comedic love story. Oddly, I'm reminded of the Baldwin sisters from the television series The Waltons, if you remember them, the ones who were always talking about their lost love, Ashley Longworth, and of course bootlegging their father's whiskey recipe. It reminds me very much of them, just these sort of comedic, fun-loving little old ladies, full of gossip and mischief even in their old age. As a short story, it is, I would say it's effective, but it's maybe feels a little bit overly condensed. Really, I think that it has the potential to be sort of the stuff of a sprawling Hollywood love story epic. And of course, Bradbury being a huge fan of the cinema, I think he may have even thought of that, perhaps, because I think his mind definitely worked a lot like that. His stories are like that. They're just sort of cinematic in that way. I really enjoyed it, but on the other hand, I don't think it quite works completely. It's supposed to be a little bit of a mystery. Who is this? Who's stealing from my attic? What are these letters about? Who's trying to communicate with me? But the mystery is pretty much solved instantly. You can tell what's going on. It just becomes so obvious that it's going to be the old suitor. Like, what else could it be? So it does fail in that capacity. But sometimes that's okay because the story itself is otherwise still fun. And I think it's relatable, ultimately. I think that's my final point. It's a relatable story. I think everyone has memories of lost loves, people they crushed on but didn't have the sort of the nerve to get up and say anything when the timing was right, and they sort of missed their opportunity. I certainly have cases of that. Girls who I had a crush on, back in school, just did not have the nerve. It always felt like they were in a different class than I was, a different group, and always with somebody else, and ultimately it didn't work. And it's sort of sad because from time to time I've heard, through various small town area, you hear things where maybe some of their life didn't work out too well. I mean, mine hasn't been great, but I hear sad stories of them being abused by men, and it's like, I would never have done that to you. So it's unfortunate that the stars didn't align and bad things happen. So sorry to end that on a sour note, but that's just where my mind sort of went. Thank you. Yeah, pretty decent little story. I'd recommend it. Give it a try. Comes from the 1997 collection Driving Blind. I found my copy used on Amazon. It's pretty much in pristine condition. Cost $10, and of course you can probably get it in an ebook format by now. So there's always that option. All right then, next time we'll be looking at a story called Remember Me, which is number 6 of 21 in this collection, number 290 overall, and we are really burning through this collection faster than I had anticipated, and that partly becomes because I sort of haven't found myself really enjoying discussing the entertainment news topics that I generally deal with recently. News sort of goes like that, where it sort of ebbs and flows about what's interesting, and you go for periods where there's just not a lot going on that I want to talk about. So there you have it. Thank you for checking out Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, and I'll see you again soon.